second Spanish colony, founded by Diego Columbus, son of Christopher Columbus, has been demolished by the conquering English and its people driven out. The only element left of the Spanish colony is a handful of Spanish-speaking Africans.
The year 1690. Sutton's estate in Clarendon is on fire. Slave outbreak. Among those who managed to escape from Sutton's are 3 boys, thought to have been brought from the west coast of Africa. Kojo, Johnny, Akampong. They are brothers.
You come from down there?
Yes, sir.
Sutton Plantation?
Yes, sir.
In the wilderness, the boys encounter African remnants of the Spanish community which had been driven out by the English 30 years before.
You follow me, you do what I tell you, or you don't follow me, you understand?
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Me, sir.
Yes, sir. You, sir.
Kojo, sir.
The 3 boys learn the arts of survival in the wilderness. Bush warfare, camouflage, to disguise themselves to look like bush.
Yeah.
So the enemy comes right next to you and does not see you.
They must move faster than the enemy, last longer, face hunger and pain without flinching, change defeat into victory, listen only to the voice of their own spirit, and stand in awe of no man. The soles of their feet must become leather against the hard rocks. Their hands like hooks of steel. Their strength is in surprise, speed, mobility. The mountains and forests form a natural fortress which frustrates their enemies. There are plenty of wild hogs left by the Spaniards when they were driven out by the English. Conies that the Taino Arawaks ate when they inhabited the land. Cassava, many fruits. In time of need, water may be found in the wild pine and in certain vines. They must hunt, find pathways through the tangled bush, study the rugged terrain, make friends with nature. Make the things of nature work for them. Rivers and flood, waterfalls, precipices, deep valleys, thick forests, torrential rainfall. They make cow horns called abengs, with which they communicate over great distances by blowing a variety of notes that convey messages.
It was not just a matter of freedom. Equally important was the preservation of self-esteem, self-respect, and dignity. The early Maroons produced some outstanding leaders. What made these leaders so outstanding was the circumstances which forced the leaders and their followers to experience things in common. If the people were hungry and tired, the leaders were likewise hungry and tired. If the people were ragged and without shelter, the leaders were likewise ragged and without shelter. Everyone shared the dangers and the pain. Everyone had duties, men and women, the old and the young, children, and even the infirm. If the leaders did not perform, the people were quick to replace them. The English settlers redoubled their efforts to destroy them. As the years pass, the fugitives in the wilderness form into gangs. Kodja becomes the leader of a gang. His fame soon spreads far and wide, and many runaways come to join him. As the English settlers redoubled their efforts to destroy them, the maroon gangs in western and central Jamaica came together and chose Kodja as their overall leader.
Come on, listen. No, let them chase me, sir, and send me back, please.
What they call you?
Ned, please, Captain Kodja. No, let them send me back, sir.
Why you run away?
They put me in the stocks. Say I make the cattle them get away. And I strike a driver. I think he's dead. So when I come this place and see you, my heart rejoices.
See what he has in him. Who is your master?
Mas Judge Ridza.
About how much you think you're worth?
About 50, 60, maybe 70, maybe 80 pounds.
50, 60, 70, 80 pounds. Cheap! You have the mind of a dog. You don't belong to any man. No man can pay your price. But you have to pay a price.
I will pay.
Yes. You pay or you don't stay. If you're one of us, you don't run no more. Withdraw, retreat, yes, but run, no. You don't desert, betray, surrender. When you get a duty, you do it, because that is how you stay free. Stand up straight!
The British often wrote of the Maroons with great admiration. One senior British officer called Kodja a man of genius. Meanwhile, in the eastern end of Jamaica, the windward parts, Nanny was emerging. Nanny may have been born about the year 1670 or earlier. For when she first appears in the written records in the 1730s, she was described as an old woman. But where was Nanny born? We don't know. But it appears that her roots were among the nations which lived on the west coast of Africa and in the territories just behind. Like Kodja, Nanny may have been brought to Jamaica as a child and escaped during an outbreak. We know there was an outbreak in 1678, 8 miles from Port Royal, when Henry Morgan was acting as governor. Some of the rebels took refuge in the hills and forests to the east, the area which the British called the windward parts. Was Nanny among them? Nanny probably matured in the mountains and forests, full of wonderful plants and scenery, waterfalls, rivers, which flooded during heavy rains and carried off everything in front of them. Deep valleys and precipices. The British attacked them time after time after time, but their troops were usually routed and rolled back in defeat. Sometime during these perilous years, Nanny developed a deep spiritual life based on the religious beliefs of the people from whom she came. These people believed in a supreme being who was the creator of all things, a God of everlasting goodness who rewarded the brave. The world was open and alive. Life was in everything, in the stone, the tree, the river, the mountain. Everything in creation was connected. Nothing existed in isolation, and people had direct access to God and to the forces of nature. Reality was to be found in the invisible world, and out of this came all the forms and activities of the visible world. The tree that stands above my head casts a shadow of grace upon me. The wind on my face is a caress. The sun pours its burning energy into me. Wild flowers delight my eyes. Fruits growing wild in the wilderness nourish me. God in nature is everywhere, offering protection and shelter. And the spirits of my ancestors await my call. They have power to assist me. Nanny probably became a student of a priest who lived in her community. As the years passed by, she emerged as the most powerful spiritual leader among her people, using the forces of the supernatural to protect them from destruction and to frighten and confuse the enemy. Not surprisingly, a legend emerged that she was even able to catch the bullets of the enemy and send them back with terrific force. In 1733, a slave named Coffee, who was a soldier in the British force, saw Nanny, sneaked up, and took a shot at her. Nanny fell. Coffee reported he had killed her, and the government recorded the good news in their minutes. But if Nanny had been hit, she certainly did not die. She appeared soon after, more determined than ever to defeat the enemy. But there came a time when Nanny's town was attacked and destroyed. Her people were scattered, exposed to the elements, in danger of disease and starvation. With increasing attacks by British forces and the fall of Nanny Town, the great stronghold of the Windward Maroons, more and more rebel slaves and runaways begin to join Cudjoe's community. But the pressure on Cudjoe is also increasing. His provision grounds are being destroyed, and the British are encircling his position with a ring of forts.
All the hill gangs coming here, and some from Portland. We can't take in any more people. We can hardly move now. Every time we go out, we have to wonder what we'll find when we come back. coming from St. Elizabeth. We take in no more. No more!
Captain Kodja, I come to tell you, you're building a big fort near the river. Big high walls and towers at the corner. Inside they make houses for soldiers. I see Indians with big ugly dogs and leather cards. Rangers and black shot carrying plenty food, bullets, gunpowder.
We have to leave this camp, Kodja. I say we move now before it's too late. Clarendon is no good for us anymore. We must move, Kodja.
We move when I'm ready.
There was a time when it was good to take in others. I myself journeyed from far to join Kodja. That time is past now. People approach from the east, from the west, from the hills, from the valleys around, frightened because Nanitown is destroyed. Even the great skill of Kodja would never keep us in food if we were to take in others now. We would all starve. Our children would starve. The babies would starve.
We must move now before they circle this place and strangle us.
Where will they take us, Kodja?
Cockpit country.
Cockpit country? But that's the hardest place in Jamaica. Kodja would take us to the cockpit country to perish.
The people coming here are our own people, hunted like we are. They make us the center of their hope, so we wait. If we leave them, there is no hope. To wait is dangerous. But danger is nothing strange. Trust me like you always have. No one can overpower you. You will live. Your children will live.
So Kodja decides to leave Clarendon, which has been his headquarters for over 30 years. He sends his brother Akampong to St. Elizabeth with a part of his people and takes refuge with the rest in the rugged cockpit country. Over half of Jamaica consists of hills and high flat country, of a rock formation known as white limestone. In the higher regions of this area, the intense action of rainwater dissolving the extremely soluble limestone makes sinkholes and underground caverns and creates a honeycomb appearance. Rainwater settles rapidly through the joints and fissures and either runs by underground tunnels and by seepage to the sea, or is trapped in great subterranean reservoirs lined with impervious clay or hard limestone. As a result, there are few streams on the surface. In certain areas, deep depressions or glens are formed, which are called cockpits. These cockpits are separated from each other by precipitous towers of rock covered with dense bush. Seen from the air, the cockpit country appears to be a jumble of rounded hills and intervening depressions. Some of the cockpits have fertile soil, and along the northern slopes of the area there are springs which have water even during drought. Kodja sets up headquarters near the entrance of the cockpits to the northwest, where goats, wild hogs, and plenty of pigeons are to be found.
He slipped us again, like a ghost. He and all his people, an army of ghosts. Right through all His Majesty's forces. Rangers, independent companies, militia, Indians, black shots, redcoats, hunting dogs, slipped through and gone to hell into the cockpit country. He's lounging up there now, that Kodja, in some god-forsaken cockpit. But who will go in after him? To sacrifice his life in that dread place. Must the proud kingdom of Great Britain make peace with ragged Kodja? What a disgrace! But let it be done.